Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Pedersen. I am a solutions consultant here at Quickbase. Today, we're actually going to be going over how to create one source of truth from Microsoft and Google using pipelines. Just to quickly recap about the importance of pipelines and why we would actually use pipelines. Pipelines lets you fully integrate your data across all your existing cloud-based software tools. Pipelines provides an intuitive way to automate your workflows between SaaS tools such as Slack, Gmail, OneDrive. You can take actions in one tool when something happens in another. Using a visual interface, you can design pipelines that specifically what and how data flows between apps specify. You can build complex pipelines that span many tools, have many steps in them, include conditions, transform your data, use date and time conversions, and schedule pipelines to run at selected intervals. You also have a multi-part workflow that strings many pipelines together, where one pipeline triggers another. While Quickbase Pipelines is not part of Quickbase, you actually don't need to have Quickbase app as part of your workflow. You can create pipelines between any two supported channels. Just to do a high-level recap as far as what you're going to be seeing today and kind of the use case. As you can see here, we have key vendors use different tech stacks. On the left, we see Google, the Gmail, Drive, Calendar for communication, scheduling, and document control. And on the right side, we see the Microsoft for scheduling through Outlook, emails, communication in Teams, and also document control in SharePoint there. In the middle, we're going to be focusing on the Quickbase application and using pipelines to bring in all of the data from Google and Microsoft. This is a high-level overview as far as the steps that you're going to be seeing in the Microsoft. So as a contractor in Quickbase, I'm going to go ahead and create a task within my projects table. That task then is going to trigger my pipeline to go ahead and schedule dates in Outlook, which then is going to notify my subcontractor, which is controlling the foundation portion of my build. It's also then going to create a project folder in SharePoint, updating my current task with a SharePoint link so it's easily accessible. Then we're going to send a message to Teams, and then we're going to also send that same message to my Quickbase application so we have all those records in the one central place of truth. At the end, I'm going to switch roles and I'm going to act as the subcontractor for Foundation. I'm going to add my photos to SharePoint, which then will be triggered to upload in Quickbase. The second overview here for Google, very similar from what you just saw with Microsoft. We're going to create our second task, which is then going to trigger into Google Calendar, creating a Google Calendar event, which then notifies the framing team. We're then also going to create a new project folder that is linked to the actual project in Quickbase, and then send a notification email to the subcontractor, letting them know that they've just been assigned to this new task. And then at the end of that, we're going to go ahead and add the completion photos to Google Drive, which then will be updated in our Quickbase application. So we can see those completed photos there. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump right into the demo. What you should be seeing here now is our Quickbase application, just our basic dashboard. And on the screen, we can see our vendor, both of our subcontractors. So we have our framing contractor and then our solid rock foundation contractor. And the way I've set this up is just for an overview to be able to see what kind of tech stacks they currently have, whether Microsoft and Google. And if we go ahead and view our projects, we can see that we've already started to have our first project has been created, which we'll now view. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and start our first task. But first, let's take a look at what we're going to be seeing our pipelines channel do. So for the first, again, we're going to create that record in Quickbase, as you see here. And then we're going to go ahead and create the calendar event in Outlook, the folder in SharePoint. From that, we're going to update our original record from step A with a link from the folder that we had just created in SharePoint. Right after that, we're going to go ahead and shoot a message to Teams, notifying the foundation team, so this way they can start to communicate back and forth. And then as well, we're going to shoot that message back into Quickbase. So let's go ahead and start this pipeline. I'm going to start the sync, jump back into Quickbase here, and I'm going to add our first task. Okay. We'll just say that this first one here, I'm going to call this, let's say, poor foundation. Okay. This is new, and the type is for the foundation team. Let's go ahead and add a quick date here. We'll just say the 17th at 7 a.m. And let's say as well that they're going to be ending on that same date here. Oops, on the 17th. And they're going to say they're going to end at 5 p.m. Okay. Save and close. Now that that record's been created, we can see that we're still missing the two photos, and that link has not been added yet to our task record. But if we quickly jump back over here to our pipelines channel, we can actually see this in action now. So if we start to scroll down, we can see how each pipeline is going through. And one thing to note here too is just actually how fast our pipelines are currently working. So they're going through multiple different software channels, pulling, pushing the data. And now it looks like our pipeline has finally finished, as we can see here. And just to kind of show what we just did, if we go back to the Quickbase application, I'll go ahead and refresh. And we can see that that folder URL has now been added to that original record that we created. And if we go now to our Microsoft Teams, we can then see as well that the new task has been scheduled for Project Creek Ridge Homes, where the foundation team can now start to communicate and collaborate on what needs to be done and also schedule. So if we go over here to the SharePoint, we can then see as well that our folder has just been created for Creek Ridge Homes Poor Foundation. We don't have any attachments yet in this file. And then as well, if we go over here to our calendar, we can then see on the 17th, Creek Ridge Homes Poor Foundation that has been created. Okay. Excellent. And then for the second pipeline here, what we're going to do is I'm going to add a message in Quickbase. And once that message lands in Quickbase, I'm then going to have that being pushed over to Microsoft Teams. This way, also, if I'm in Teams and I respond to that message, it can then be pushed back into Quickbase, streamlining the communication back and forth. This way, really eliminating any kind of bottlenecks or issues that you might currently have when dealing with subcontractors. Right, so in an example, we'll go ahead and sync, jump back here to Quickbase. I'm just going to quickly add a message. And I'll just say that the, let's just say the equipment is on site. I want this to go to my foundation team. Save and close. And then back to the pipelines, we can then see our pipelines currently working. It's found the record. Looks like we found that message. And now we'll reply to that message. And just to kind of see what happened here in Microsoft Teams, we can then see my message has landed, equipment is now on site. And like I had mentioned before, we would also then be able to reply from Teams and have that push into Quickbase. Okay. And then here, that pipeline is now finished. Now let's go ahead and look at what it would take to actually add those file attachments to our SharePoint in Microsoft here. And then I'm going to then pull those files into Quickbase. So again, this way, we're not going to lose any kind of data. We're not going to be waiting or having to keep refreshing and waiting for those subcontractors to upload that information or send us a text saying, hey, we did that. So now we're back into the SharePoint folder here, where I'm going to go ahead and just add our final products. So the East and West Foundation photos. Give it a moment here to load in. So now we have both of our images have now been uploaded. And for this, what I've done is I'm going to manually just hit run pipeline so we can see both of these in action. Just to showcase a little bit of the SharePoint channel here, though, we open this up. We have the items, folders, lists, and files. And in this case, we also would be able to have a trigger where once I add that file, I would automatically sync in. In this case, I just wanted to show how I have the ability to run the pipeline manually, but also I could schedule this pipeline. So if I ever needed to, let's say every 30 minutes or hour, I would like to check and see if there's new information that has been posted. I could also then create a schedule to have our pipelines fire. So in this case, I'll just quickly run pipeline. And same thing for our West, run pipeline. Now let's go ahead and take a look. So we're searching the folders. We have currently found the folder given the conditions of the project name. We also found the file. We then had searched the record in Quickbase to make sure that we're going to be adding these attachments to the correct record related to the actual project that we're working on. And then we just now uploaded the file to Quickbase. So let's see what that actually looks like now. Go back here to our application. I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh. And now we can see both of those photos have now been uploaded. And then as well, if we ever needed to go back and actually check, we have that ability again to click into the folder URL, which then would open up the actual Microsoft SharePoint for us to access. Now, quickly jumping back into the second kind of phase here for what I had shown originally. Now we're going to go and switch kind of roles into the Google suite here. So if we open this up here, I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, excellent. And then let's look at what we're going to be doing. So this is the second kind of set of the pipelines where we're going to be connecting to Google. And as you can see, step A, we're going to create that first task record. And my condition here is to make sure that it's for the framing team. And then we're going to create a folder, add an event, update a record in Quickbase, and then send the notification to the Gmail. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Go ahead and sync. I'll jump back over here to our application, and I'm going to add a new task. Okay, in this case, I'll just say like start framing and status new. Let's say framing team, and let's just have them start on. Let's just say we're going to have them start today, 7 a.m. and they're one of the best teams out there. So let's just assume that they're also going to be framing the entire home in one day, and they're going to be ending at 5 p.m. here. Save and close. Okay. Second task has now been created. And if we jump over here to our pipelines channel, we can see our pipeline running. Add the event. The record's been created. Message has been sent to the Gmail channel or an update record. And then we also created the folder. So now our pipeline's finished. If we go back to the Quickbase, I'm going to hit refresh here. We can see the folder URL has also been added, but now this is directly to the Google Drive. And so again, SharePoint here and Google Drive on the second. And then if we go over to our Google Drive, we can then see that the Creek Ridge Homes folder has just been created. We don't have any attachments yet in this folder. And also if we go over here to the Gmail, we'll go ahead and hit refresh. And we can see that a new task has been created for Creek Ridge Homes. So now as a framer, I'm now notified. I have a record that the contractor has now created this task for us, and it's also on our schedule. We can see the dates have been posted here on the actual email itself. Start framing. We have those dates and times. And then as well, I go over to our calendar, we can then see that the event has also been added to our calendar. And then also just to go back here to our pipelines and dive a little bit more into some of the capabilities with Google. If we were to open up the Google Drive here, we also have the ability to, so not only search folders, create folders, we can delete, we can fetch information out of those folders, and it's as simple as drag and drop. As you see here to the left, how I've created our first pipeline. Just an example, we can easily drag and drop and continue to add additional steps to our pipeline as needed. And that's just a Google Drive example. We also have the Google Workspace, Sheets, Docs, Contacts, Calendar, and our Gmail is currently still in beta, but that is something that we'll be releasing here soon. Okay. Now, and then for the second portion of this, what we're going to do is very similar to what you had just seen with our Microsoft suite. I'm going to go ahead and quickly just refresh our pipelines so they're up to date here. And I'm going to kind of switch roles where I'm actually going to add the completed photos for our framing, the east and west side of our framing photos here. And then I want to pull those documents into our Quickbase application. So I'll go ahead and add these photos. Okay. refresh there. We have our east framing and our west framing. Same thing that we had gone over, where right now I'm going to run both pipelines, but we do have the ability to set up those triggers depending upon when the file attachment actually is uploaded. So we'll quickly search for those folders, or files rather. We can see the pipeline running. We have searched the folders. We found the current folder, Creek Ridge Homes, the name of our project. We found the file that was just uploaded, which is the west framing. We also we just searched for the original record where the task was created. So we found that. And then now we're uploading our file that was just added to the drive. So if we go back to our Quickbase application, we can now see both photos have been added. And then again, also we have our folder URL. So with that, we've done here, if we've built the pipelines to go into many different stages of Google, creating the folder, adding an event, update the record, send an email notification, and we've done all that just with one pipeline, right? And then jumping back through this, what we'd also be able to do, just to kind of recap on some of the channels here, if you're ever needing to, let's say, create revisions with documents, we can replace text and documentation. So if an example might be for a purchase order that has been loaded in, maybe we have a purchase order table in Quickbase that would then load in the information from our purchase order in and update the document in Google Sheets. Or Google Docs with that information. You can also do that as a step, or pull data or push data from Google Sheets, which I've seen a great success with. Let's say you have an open form on Google Forms, that information then is pushed into Google Sheets. Every time a new record is created, that record then can be pulled into Quickbase, creating a new record and shooting out notifications to your team. That's another piece that you could do here. Okay. And with that, within a matter of about 10 to 15 minutes, we've been able to fully streamline the entire process from start to finish, where before, as a contractor, some of the issues, again, when I was a customer, some of the issues that we would always see when some subcontractors would have different tech stacks. So they would have tech stacks with Google, Microsoft, and just being able to now streamline that process into one central place of truth, you're now able to do with pipelines. Really streamlining the process where we're cutting down any kind of errors, any kind of communication errors that you may be currently having. That's really what pipelines is able to solve. So due to popular demand and a lot of questions that we were getting in preparation for this demo, I wanted to do a very quick bonus pipeline here, and just to kind of do a very high level overview of what you're going to be seeing for this bonus pipeline. Let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. With this, we have a scenario where we're going to go ahead and update one of our subcontractors' records. In this case, what I'd like to do is I would like to send a business process manual that I have as a template in Google Drive as a Word document. I would like to change some of the text within that document to match my subcontractor's information and today's date. And then I'd also then like to add that file attachment to my subcontractor record here. So to look at this a little bit more in depth and high level, you can see now on my screen, we have the Google Doc upload channel here created, or pipeline created. And just to walk through this, what we're going to do is we're going to update our current record for our subcontractor. And we did add a condition here where the query conditions, we have to make sure that the checkbox is checked to yes. And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into Google Drive, where we're going to search files. And we're going to make sure that the query here, the name contains the business process manual, where let me jump over to my drive. And as you can see here to the bottom left of my file, the business process manual is waiting. So that's what our search is going to do. And then with that search, what I want to do at that point is then make a copy of that same business process manual But the difference now is I'm going to be adding the subcontractor's name before it says business process manual. And how I do that is on my step A for pipelines. When I open this up, I have that ability to grab the name text field, which I've added, and I just drag and drop down to the business process manual. And that is now what's going to be replaced as the header for my document. And then with that as well, we're going to go ahead and create a new record on the attachments table, which is still staying related to the subcontractor's parent record. And then again, because we did just make a new copy of our business process manual, we're going to search the files, where as you can see here, the name contains a name, business process manual, which is going to be our framing company. And then with that copy, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to replace the text within that document. And really quickly, just to show you what that document looks like, where it says your company, jump over here to the document. I'll highlight this so you can see where it says your company, we're going to go ahead and replace with the current subcontractor's name. And then as well for the next step, where it has the date here, 1st of January, highlight this for you. We're then also going to change that to today's date, 5/19/21. Of course, I could continue to add more information as needed. So if I needed to even drag and drop more information from one of the original records that we just created, we could also do that. Or I can simply type more information here for the replacement. In this case, I'll just keep it as a replacement for the date. And then with the final last step, once this replacement happens in those text fields, I'm going to go ahead and upload the new file that we had just modified to the original Quickbase record here. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of take a look at what this does once we go ahead and hit that checkbox. So I'll go ahead and sync and go back to Quickbase here. And I'm going to go ahead and send business process manual, hit that checkbox, save and close. We can see the two subcontractors here, and you can see the checkbox has been checked. And then if we jump back to our pipelines, it's waiting there. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure. Okay, the pipeline's now starting. The record was updated, which as you can see here, send business process manual in red is true. So this way you can really identify what's been changed for this update. And we did indeed find the file in the drive, business process manual. Keep scrolling down here through the YAML. We then made a quick copy of that same document, but now we've changed the name to 3D framing. So we just added the subcontractor's name, and then we created a new record, which is going to be the file attachment in our Quickbase app. And then as well, we want to then search for the same file, but the updated version file, and change some of those text in that document. So let's go ahead and take a look at the change here. I'll go to this document, and just to highlight what's been changed, we went from your company to now actually saying the record subcontractor's name here. And then as well, the date has now been changed to match the pipelines and what I wanted it to change to. If we go over here to my drive, we can also see a copy of my 3D framing business process has been made. And then if we jump back to our Quickbase application here and hit refresh, we then are going to see that file attachment has now been added. Now this is a common as well use case for, let's say, purchase orders, where if we had a purchase order table here, when a new purchase order comes in and let's say it's approved, we then need to grab a template from our Google Drive, update that purchase order to match the purchase order information from Quickbase, and then send that to, let's say, a client, the accounting team, or just have that on record. But that's also a very common use case, is to update purchase orders the very same way that you had just seen here, where I updated the names and date for the business process manual. So with that, I just wanted to thank you for your time and ask that you share your feedback and rate this session. Also, if you have any questions later, my name is Alex Pedersen. So head over to the Quickbase Community Slack Empower Sessions channel and at Alex Pedersen, or just at me, and then I'll go ahead and answer any of those questions. Thank you.